Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More. My name is Kaylee.
And my name is Desi.
Today we'll be uncovering the dark truth of what happened to Celina Mays. Before we get into this case, if you know any information about Celina Mays that would be useful to authorities, by any means, please report to your local police and sheriff department.
Celina Mays has been missing for over 25 years now. This case is very unfortunate because not only was she really young, but she was pregnant at the time. Celina was only 12 years old when she vanished. To this day, she would be 37 years old. Celina lived with 15 other people in Willingboro, New Jersey, most being her family and others who some called a church family or a cult.
Celina Jeanette Mays was born May 28, 1984. Her parents are Lynn Marie Vitale and Crezonzo Mays. He goes by CJ. Celina had a difficult upbringing. Her mother was an exotic dancer and her father was an aspiring musician. Both of her parents were addicted to drugs. In 1990, her parents split up. The split was great for her parents because they got sober.
Celina's mother worked as a school custodian and her father became religious. He joined his sister's church. Her name is Cerita Smith. However, her mom did not like this, as she felt it was too much and did not like Celina going over there. In 1994, her mother had a brain aneurysm. She had a $50,000 life insurance policy. Lynn's family did not want CJ to have custody of Celina because of the life insurance policy.
The judge approved CJ for custody of Celina. This house had 15 people. The residents were CJ and his wife Everett, his stepson Enrique Tharps, Cerita Smith, her husband, 2 teenage sons, and a 23-year-old son named Sean. Sean had a wife and 3 kids. All of the residents were members of Mount Holly and the children were schooled there.
Celina got pregnant at 11 years old. Unfortunately, her family was against abortion despite her being so young and fragile. On December 15, Celina and her family attended church and came back home. After Celina got home and ate ice cream with her family, she kissed her family goodnight. She told them how grateful she felt.
The next day, Celina's little sister went to wake her up. However, Celina was nowhere to be found. What is extremely strange about this case is that Celina's purse, favorite CD, and prenatal vitamins were still left at home. At first, when she was reported missing, police thought she may have ran away.
The police later on changed their minds. First of all, she was due to have a C-section December 29th. There are absolutely no records of anyone remotely close to Celina's age giving birth at the hospital. Police have created age progression images. There is a lack of pictures of people who knew Celina, but there are plenty of newspaper articles covering her disappearance.
Police do not know who got Celina pregnant. It is rumored that he was 16 years old and not a member of the church. The police also have proof that her father, CJ, did have a vasectomy years prior to her pregnancy. There are 2 main theories on this case, one being she ran away and the other that foul play was involved.
Goldman and his wife, ex-members of the church, state that Cerita had absolute control of everything, that Celina had no contact with the outside world. A year prior to her disappearance, Goldman went to rescue his family from this so-called cult, and Cerita was not having it. She called police and was charged with trespassing charges.
One of the former neighbors, Dan Aubrey, stated that the family was obnoxiously loud. He had tried to come to an agreement with them, but instead Cerita was angry and announced, "Mount Holly, this is where I will fight you all." When Dorothy Aubrey, ex-resident, lost custody of her children, she went to live with Cerita. She explains how uncomfortable she was with the church's practices.
CJ thinks that Celina ran away because his daughter was afraid because he asked her who the father was. Celina's half-brother, Bob Benaglio, states that he talked to her before she left. Her brother says he asked if she was ever unhappy to give him a beep on the phone if she was. Celina did, and his heart broke.
The police were not allowed to search the home. Police issued a search warrant. However, it was denied by the judge. The judge states that the family must be presumed as innocent. Lieutenant Donna Dimitri and other officers have conducted interviews with multiple members of the home.
Tom Levitt, an uncle on Celina's mother's side, has blocked Mays from obtaining Lynn's life insurance policy that she left for Celina. Cerita's son, Sean Smith, has been rumored to possibly be the father of Celina's baby. He was arrested with sexual assault of minor girls.
We do not know who the father of the baby is. Considering the amount of time she has been missing, it is very unlikely that she ran away. We also do not know to the extent the church went and how much freedom she had. There are a lot of unanswered questions.
Here are some questions. Was Celina unhappy living with her dad? It is noted that she talked to her half-brother before she disappeared. I definitely think Celina was very unhappy with living with her dad, especially the fact that she lived with 15 other people on top of it as well. And being a 12-year-old and being pregnant, it was probably a lot of pressure put on her. Also the fact that she had limited contact with people and didn't really see the outside world a lot. I definitely feel like she was probably very unhappy living with her dad. The fact that she even told her half-brother that she was unhappy just kind of goes to show that it definitely is more evident that she was unhappy.
Yeah, I totally agree that Celina was unhappy. Like you said, that she even told her half-brother that she was unhappy living there. 12 years old and being pregnant and forced to give birth, that's very young age to give birth. It's definitely like not something easy to do. Also, her dad would constantly question her, like who the baby daddy was and everything, and just make comments. And I feel like as a girl, like that would definitely be like hard to deal with. Her mom died prior to her moving in with her dad, so she was still probably getting over her mom's death. Would Mount Holly Church be considered a cult? For me, I personally kind of do feel like it might lean towards that way, because first of all, just like the attitude of the pastor Cerita Smith, multiple people have admitted how controlling she was and how they would have to sell Mary Kay cosmetic product and pretzels, but they would never see any of that money. Also the fact that Celina didn't go to an actual like public school, so she probably didn't have a whole lot of friends. The practices of the church just don't seem very right, and whenever Cerita Smith got called out by an ex-neighbor for them being too obnoxiously loud, they were saying how like they were just full on screaming, and it was just, she came back with a microphone saying that this is war. Like, you don't see most typical church goers like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like normal churches don't just declare war on.
The fact that everybody was like required to live in like a unit like that. Now I know there are some cultures where multiple generations will live together, but it was like they pretty much had to live in that unit and live a certain way. Celina got pregnant so young. Most normal parents would let their kid have an abortion, and they would try to figure out who the dad was. Usually if you're gonna get pregnant that young, it's probably gonna be rape, but she honestly pretty much always treated Celina like she was like a disgrace and that she had to give birth.
Was Celina raped? Being that the fact that she was 11 when she got pregnant, I feel like she was definitely raped. Whether it was by her cousin. Whether it was by her cousin or maybe like somebody in the church or a neighbor. I feel like, especially when she got asked the question of who the baby daddy was, she was very scared to tell who it was. I feel like at that point, it's kind of more evident that she was raped rather than she actually had consensual sex. And a lot of 11 and 12-year-olds that most of the time they don't even start like their womanly stuff until about like 13ish. For some,
yeah, it depends.
It depends, and a lot of people don't start thinking about stuff like that until they're like 14 or 15.
Yeah, like high school, yeah. Now, it is possible for anybody at any age to do stuff, because there are people that are in middle school that do. Actually, the fact that she didn't have a lot of contact with the outside world and she was really scared to tell her dad who this person was, nobody in her family supposedly had an idea, or they played it off like that, makes me think that Celina definitely was raped. I personally believe that she was raped, and I do believe that there is a chance that it could be her cousin or likely someone in the church, because just the way the church ran and everything and the shady stuff going on, she was just super young. She seemed really scared. Makes me think that she was raped. Could Sean Smith, so this is Cerita's son, which would be her cousin, have impregnated Celina? He was later on arrested for having sex with minors. I do believe that it is possible that it was him, because also Cerita did go on this whole spill on how because Celina wouldn't tell them who the baby daddy was, she just felt betrayed. She says if Celina was truly raped, she would come forward and have no issue. But there's been multiple cases of women who have been raped that are scared to come forward because of the lack of support. And also the fact, like, he messed with minors around the same time that Celina got pregnant. And it was not just one incident, it was multiple years. Makes me definitely think that he could be involved. Also, he was living under the same roof, so it'd been a lot easier. Her family could have known and they could have just covered it up because that was Cerita's baby boy and that she was going to do anything for her son, even if her son had went and done something horrible such as rape. That regardless if Celina was raped or not, her family felt like she should carry the baby to full term, which I think is fucked up.
Yeah, definitely very fucked up. I would think if normal people, if your child gets pregnant at that age, whether it's from rape or something else, you would think you would be supportive of abortion at that point, but also supportive of other options for them like adoption or keeping the baby. But that's just how I feel. Either way, her son, Sean Smith, he's definitely more of a suspect.
For sure, yeah. And then also, it is very unfortunate how the police have tried to get access into searching the home, but unfortunately, the judge wants to believe family story and will not let them just go and search the home like they want to. And it's very unfortunate because with any other instance it would be a lot easier, but because with the whole church thing it makes it a lot more difficult.
Is the baby daddy really a 16-year-old guy? Well, it could be a 16-year-old guy because it could be, somebody from church or in the community. But I still don't really believe it's a 16-year-old guy. I feel like it's definitely someone older who took advantage of her.
I don't believe that's a 16-year-old guy because a lot of ex-members in the church and neighbors have talked about Cerita being very controlling and how Celina just didn't really have contact with the outside world. So when would she even have time to go and see this other 16-year-old? There is a floating around rumor that says like maybe she went bowling with a guy and then stuck out and met up with him somehow. I guess that could happen, but even if she had sex with a 16-year-old guy, I think that's a little bit too old for her age at that time. She was 12 and that could have also been rape as well. I truly don't really believe that it was the 16-year-old guy that is rumored. Celina could have even said that because she was afraid if her family really found out the truth of what happened to her and like the baby and everything. Unless we were able to find her and we were able to get a DNA test for that baby, we cannot prove that was a 16-year-old guy. If she ran away, why did she leave so many belongings at home? It is said that like she didn't take a single item of clothing. She left her prenatal vitamins, which are very important. She also left her favorite CD player and she left her purse. It's very odd the way that she left, because even when her sister went to wake her up, the bed looked out as almost as if Celina was still sleeping in the bed. I personally don't really think that she ran away and that she would go and just leave all these belongings. I think if she truly ran away to get away from her family because she was unhappy and go somewhere safe, like her half brother or maybe her uncle on her mom's side, she would probably have brought at least her prenatal vitamins and probably her purse. So the reason why there's all those belongings left is probably because there's some sort of foul play involved.
Unless she truly did run away and didn't think that she would need those things, or she was running away in a hurry. But it is a little suspicious, so So I feel like more so it's she didn't run away.
Yeah.
She lived in a home with 15 other people. How did no one notice she was gone? Well, when you live in a home with 15 other people, I can imagine that a lot of them don't keep tabs on others or don't bother to pay attention. I feel like maybe she was kind of just pushed off to the side and nobody really tended to notice her up until that point when they went to go check on her in the morning and she wasn't there. Anything is possible. Another reason why they probably didn't notice she was gone is maybe they had something to do with it.
I think that is a little bit weird that they didn't notice. They definitely probably have something to do with it or something to know about it, but we don't know exactly the exact time she went missing. We do know the date that she was last seen. She could have obviously left in the middle of the night or got kidnapped in the middle of the night. Is she still alive? She has been missing for over 25 years. I doubt that she's still alive. I doubt that she truly ran away to go to some happier place. I think that unfortunately somebody murdered her. I think that she might have been killed by her own family, because if Cerita's son was involved somehow, they might have killed her to get rid of the evidence because they didn't want her son caught because he had sex with the minor, but he got caught anyways.
They all eventually get caught. The more years that go by, the less likely of a chance that you have a life, especially a missing person. Although it would be really cool if she was and she had the baby. They were all grown up and everything.
Yeah, and she was living a happy life.
Yeah, but I definitely still believe she's dead. Is her family telling the truth? Her dad believes she ran away, and her mom's family doesn't believe that is the case. I feel like her family's definitely not telling the truth. I feel like there's more to this story than what they're letting on. But I feel like her mom's family has the right idea and not believe that's the case for sure.
I feel like her mom's family, we'll get into that in the next question. We have another question that will explain this even better. But I definitely feel like her mom's family, especially the uncle and her half-brother, because they were trying to get custody of her for so many years because of the shadiness of the church that her dad was involved in, and it's that they had the right side of the idea. But I think that her dad, he could be brainwashed into his sister's idea that she ran away and that she betrayed her family because she didn't want to tell her dad that who the true baby daddy was. So I think that the dad, his whole side, is not telling the truth. Which leads me into this next question. Was her dad after the life insurance policy that Celina's mother left for her? Her mother had a brain aneurysm and she had this $50,000 life insurance policy. And when she went missing, this was in the 90s, so it definitely is worth a little bit more today. It is possible that he was in for that life insurance policy. Her uncle even talks about how he got a lawyer to make sure her dad couldn't take this policy, and that her uncle was trying to get custody of Celina before she went missing, because it's clear that her dad is probably not the best father, because the fact that his daughter was potentially raped and put in a horrible situation, and that he made his own daughter go through with this pregnancy at such a young age when he knew that she was fragile and she was gonna have to have a C-section in order to give birth, and he knew all the medical risk but was still fine with it. And he could have definitely been after his daughter because of money. Don't know exactly how much the church made. They supposedly say that they made in the 200,000s, but there was 15 people living in that house. Who's to say that they really actually made that money? And they were doing shady things like selling Mary Kay cosmetics. Ex-members said they didn't see any of the money and they didn't like where the money was going.
Yeah, and people can be motivated by money to do whatever they want to people. And if her dad had gotten the life insurance policy, who's to say he wouldn't have just dumped her?
Yeah, and another thing to note too is, even weirder, is the bail amount for Cerita's son, Sean Smith, was around that $50,000.
Is there foul play involved? Definitely. I definitely believe there's foul play. She wouldn't have gone missing or anywhere without her purse or her vitamins or anything. Not just that, but she was also due for a C-section in a week or two, and the circumstances around it and how everyone acted, and especially how her family, everybody's very suspicious.
Yeah, I do believe that foul play is involved because we've mentioned so much about the cult like church and how Sean Smith, he was a pedophile. She lived in the same home as him. Like, that just sickens me. If I was a parent and my kid went missing that young, I would not think that my kid just straight up ran away. The fact that, the family's just like, oh, she just ran away and betrayed us all, that to me makes it seem like foul play is involved. If foul play is involved, who killed her? I believe that it probably is somebody in the church. And there's a couple of people. I think, first of all, that Sean Smith did get her pregnant. And I think maybe that her dad or her aunt was involved in her death. I think it might be her aunt because her aunt was probably trying to cover up the tracks that Sean Smith was having sex with minors, and she didn't want to get him caught, and she wanted to keep this clean church people image.
I definitely think it could be either her cousin, her aunt, her dad, or it could even be like someone inside of the church that maybe did it as a favor for them, an ex-neighbor or anything like that.
Yeah, but definitely somebody that knew. What theory do we believe? So I'm going to start from the beginning. Celina was taken to her father's. Whether or not he wanted the life insurance policy, she moved in with him. And I think the reason why kind of like the judge went with that because like her mother died and he's her father and everything. So that part makes sense to me. But I think that the church was truly a cult. She truly didn't have access to the outside of the world. I think that Sean Smith did rape her. I think that Celina truly was unhappy, and I think Celina told her dad that it was some 16-year-old boy, and she told the OBGYN that because she was afraid, because when you've been raped, there's not, like I've said, a lot of support, and it's scary. And basically her aunt made her carry the baby to full term because of their religious practices, and I think that her aunt eventually somehow figured out that Sean Smith got Celina pregnant. She knew if the church got caught, if her son got caught, they would be in big trouble. So I think that pretty much she killed Celina. Whether or not her dad was a part of it is a big question. He might not even be a part of it. I think he might know, but they definitely killed her and dumped her body somewhere.
But either way, I feel like maybe her aunt or her father did kill her for sure. Or somebody in that house.
It could have even been Sean Smith. I kind of do feel like it's a little bit more on the aunt doing it.
More so, why would you wait until somebody was like to full term ready to give birth to kill somebody?
It is kind of weird that they waited so long, but maybe at first they weren't planning on killing her, but then later on they were like, well, once she has a baby and she goes to the hospital, usually they'll do like a DNA test, and so if it came back as Sean Smith, they would be in big trouble. So maybe like kind of last minute they decided, okay, we're not going to be able to get away with this. They were just waiting for the right time. And especially when you're closer to the term, it makes it a lot harder to fight back because like you're sore, you're tired and everything, and maybe like they're afraid earlier on she would have been able to put up a fight.
Yeah, that is very possible as well. I definitely believe that somebody got her pregnant. Someone in her family did kill her and they got away with it. They covered it up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Thank you for listening to another episode of Murders, Mysteries, and More. Remember to always keep your eyes open because you never know when someone's creeping.